Good morning and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show today, the 10th of September 2021. I am Finifolu Falodun and welcoming you to the show this morning. On the Good Morning Education Show, we treat and we handle discussions and analysis in and around the world of education. We have our team of analysts who join together, who band together to offer their opinion on the different topics that we bring up every day. Today, we have another bumper package for you, and we are glad that you are there with us. To everyone joining us for the first time, we say welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us on the show this morning. We start off with the headlines of the day, and then we go on to take our discussion for the day. We already have with us one of our analysts joining us this morning. Good morning, Omotola.
Good morning, Fee. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. How are you too?
Doing great, thank you.
Great. So we will be going straight into the headlines that we have for today. Our first headline. Our first headline says relationship between male lecturers, female students must be consensual. And that's coming from the Obafemi Awolowo University. The public relations officer of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Abiodun Olanrewaju, has cleared the air on the issue of romantic relationships between male lecturers and female students of the institution. In a radio current affairs program monitored by Daily Post on Thursday, Olanrewaju disclosed that since there was no universal law stopping a man from approaching a woman, but when a woman refuses such advances, it should be taken for what it is, a refusal. What's your thoughts on this headline, Omotola?
I think it's not just as simple as that, especially if there is imbalance in power. So I don't think it's just as simple as the way that you stated it, that you can just approach and you can say no. Imagine if it's a professor that is your lecturer that is the one approaching, and then because if you say no, there are consequences to your grade, even though you do excellently well, and then they use that to like get back at you. So yes, in theory, it sounds great what he's saying, but in practicality and in real life, it might be more difficult than that. So I think there should be like that professional boundary kind of thing that wait, whoa, like I just feel iffy about what he's saying and the way that he's taking it as, oh, it's a simple matter, is about yes and no. It's not about yes and no. There are so many cases in the past of when students say no, whether male or female, and the consequences that they have to suffer just because they said no in that regard as well. So that would be my thought.
Right, thank you. Moving on, Kogi Police suspends lecturer for failing students who refuse to buy handouts. The rector, Kogi State Polytechnic, Lokoja, Usman Salisu Ogbo, has announced the suspension of his staff in the institution for allegedly forcing students to buy textbooks before they would pass their examinations. Ogbo disclosed this when the president, National Association of Nigerian Students, Comrade Sunday Ashefo, alongside his entourage, paid the management of the Polytechnic a courtesy visit on Thursday. The rector, who did not mention the name of the staff, said it is clear injustice to the educational system for any lecturer to impose textbooks, popularly called handouts, on students before they could pass the examinations. We know that in the tertiary institutions, this tradition of handouts by lecturers, well, in our climb is a common one. What's your thoughts on this, Omotola?
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, are they charging money for these handouts? Is that a case thing? Sorry.
Yes, they do sell the handouts.
Yeah, I think it's wrong because yeah, and I understand that part of the culture. But if it's already part of what they should have covered in the curriculum and what they should have been giving to students in the first place, it doesn't make sense. It's as if they're selling their PowerPoint that they should use in class to say, you know what, yes, I've taught you this thing, but if you want the PowerPoint and the extra notes, then you have to pay. So I'm not sure. I don't know how I feel about it, but I feel it's like not appropriate, in my own opinion, that if it's part of the whole course curriculum, they should not have to pay for it. Students should not have to pay for it. It should have been covered in their school fees that they're paying. But I can understand why some professor will see it as a side or do to do to make more money from students.
All right, thank you. On to the next one. Yobe government suspends five secondary schools principals over gross misconduct. It looks like this morning, a majority of what we are dealing with or having to review has to do with disciplinary issues. Okay, principals of five boarding senior secondary schools in Yobe State have been suspended for various gross offences by the State Commissioner of Basic and Secondary Education, Mohammed Sani Idris. This was disclosed by the commissioner on Thursday via his Facebook page. Interesting. The suspension letters were issued by the executive chairman, Teaching Service Board in the state to the affected principals at the instance of the Commissioner, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, Dr. Mohammed Sani Idris, who paid a surprise visit to schools on Monday, the 6th of September 2021. What's your thoughts, Motola?
Sorry, it cut out a little bit. Can you repeat the beginning? Sorry.
It's the Yobe, the Commissioner of Basic and Secondary Education in Yobe State, took an impromptu, unannounced visits to schools in the state, and then for various reasons, for various offences, some teachers and five secondary school principals were suspended.
Well, I think that's a good thing. Like if like because most people like if they know that they're going to be evaluated, they'll try to like do things to make sure that everything is good and good. So I guess if they took that drastic step of suspending them, then it is warranted. And so I guess maybe that's a good thing for the education system and for actually thinking about what the students need and not so much about letting mismanagement continue in the education system. Thank you.
All right. There's a need for us to set the system clean and to have it properly wiped out. Our next headline: Kogi government sets dates to shut down all unregistered schools. The Kogi state government has vowed to shut down all unregistered schools in the state at the resumption of the 2021-2022 academic session. The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Ojo Jones, who disclosed this on Thursday while fielding questions from newsmen, said allowing unregistered schools to operate in the state would amount to mortgaging the future of the children. We've had this issue around unregistered schools or in the past, and this is Kogi issuing a marching order to all unregistered schools to either get their book straight or get closed down. Any comments, Motola?
I think that I wonder what is the timeline that they're giving them. Yes, I know that maybe they've been warning them over time and maybe some people did not take it seriously. But beyond just saying that they're going to shut them down, that cannot just be the only option because the question is what happened to those students? What happened to the number of students that will now be out of school? That will even add to the number of out of school children already that we're dealing with in the first place. So yes, it might be a laudable thing to say we're trying to get quality right, and because of that, you're going to do whatever it takes to get rid of the schools that are not up to par. Do they have a plan? to let them into the current system that is available? What is the plan for that? Who is in charge of that and those kind of things? So that will be the question that I will be asking beyond just saying that we're going to shut down the school. It's not good enough for them to just shut down the school. There has to be a plan for those students that will be affected because of the school shutdown. And I hope that they give those people like official notice, like when people serve you notice in a way, like and like maybe they say you have 3 months, you have 6 months to fix this before. Maybe I hope they've done that, and maybe if it's for those that really still choose not to comply, that they will eventually shut down. But if they are just giving them 1 day notice, 1 week notice, then I don't think that is helpful. Thank you.
All right. Moving on. Federal government addressed only two of our demands, says ASU. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, on Thursday said only two of its eight demands have so far been met by the federal government in the last 9 months. The Ibadan zone of the union made this known in a statement after its meeting at the Ladoke Akintola University, Lautech, Ogbomoso, chaired by its coordinator in Lautech, Prof. Oyebamiji Oyegoke. So is well, I'm not really sure, but I hope this is not ASU saying they are ready for another strike. Any thoughts, Motola?
Yes, I think I'm really hoping and praying that yes, this will not result to another strike, like you said. And then the only advice I'll give to ASU, if they will ever take it, is please, like, they know the person they're dealing with. They've been dealing with this beast for, which is the FG, that's what I'm calling the beast, for more than Odun Gogoro, like so many years from now. So the question is, if you know the character and the pattern of the person you're dealing with, they need to start coming to the table with pre-solution of potential. Okay, this is the fallback plan beyond just strike. And so I really encourage us that they have to start thinking differently. They can keep addressing this issue the same way and expecting a different result. And so my question would be, like, even if they have eight demands, they should rank it in the sense of like which these are the top non-negotiable ones. We are willing to work with you if you can get four or whatever. But if you just come with it and accept all it to be, then you're not saying that two is a failure. Then I don't think we are going to see any progress anytime soon. So I really believe that they need to find a better way to deal with this beast of the federal government that they've been dealing with. But we can't just use the same approach again. And I hope that this does not result into another strike for the students. Thank you.
All right, we're hoping that this is not the foundation laying for another protracted period of keeping students out of school. And to our last headline this morning, Lagos State government releases resumption schedule for 2021-2022 academic session. Um, States are beginning to release their resumption schedule, and this year is quite different from other years for many schools and in many states also. We still have to put into consideration the fact that COVID-19 is still ravaging, and there's a need for us to keep safe, keep the children safe, keep the staff safe as we go on with schools resumption. But the body of that news says the Lagos State government has announced resumption guidelines for the 2021-2022 academic session for public and private schools across the state. Schools are expected to resume on September 13, while for model colleges and upgraded schools, students are to resume in batches from September 19, 2021. This was contained in a statement by Mr. Ganiu Lawal, Assistant Director, Public Affairs, Ministry of Education, on Monday in Lagos. I believe parents should keep an eye on the news, and especially in the states, to know how the children are expected to return to school, so we don't have cases of children just being on the streets and it's not time for them to be in school. Let's reduce the uh, as much as possible the possibility of exposing these children to dangers of being manhandled or whichever way, um, which whatever other vices are out there on the street. So parents, please keep an eye on the news in your states. Different governments are releasing the schedule. Now it's not left to schools to set the resumption date, is left to is the government that is setting the resumption dates. All right, so we're going right into our topic for today, and our topic is choosing to lead. Choosing to lead. What does it mean to lead, and what does it mean to choose to lead? In your view, Omotola, what does choosing to lead entail?
Thank you, Finn. So I think for me, choosing to lead is take like making a personal responsibility to be the lead in the like to display leadership in particular situation. And so one of my definitions for leadership that this is like from the president of my undergrad university, but I treat in my own way is like leadership is not the position you hold, but the difference you make. Because I know for most of us, especially me growing up in Nigeria, I used to believe that we can only be a leader when you have a position, a title. When you are in the government, you are a governor, you're the president, senator, House of Representatives, congressperson, or when you have a big title like CEO and things like that. But not until I got into the university that I realized actually no, leadership is not so much about the position or the title, it's about the difference you choose to make. And then what I add to that definition, wherever you are at whatever stage, I think like growing up, the culture that was embedded in me was saying that, oh no, you can only lead when you are rich or successful and reach a certain age. I didn't used to consider myself a leader when I was still in secondary school. I used to think that no, I cannot be a leader. I'm too young. I'm a female and none of that. But I think right now and with all that I've known in the past 10 years plus, it's more about you making up your mind that wherever I find myself, I can be a leader. And I'll give you an example. It's as simple as let's say you're in a community or an environment, and then some people choose to litter and just dump all the biscuit wrapper, sweet wrapper, pure water wrapper on the floor and not picking it up and put it in the right dustbin. You can choose to lead in that situation and tell them, you know, this is not right. This is not helpful to our community. This is going to have to health issue, water what do you call it blockage on in our gutters and things like that. And so you know we need to do the right thing, we need to do better. We cannot just afford to just dump stuff on the road and just think that it will not come back to bite us in our butt later in the future. And so I think that's choosing to live, taking that on that personal responsibility, that even if nobody around you chooses to do the right thing, chooses to ensure that they take the appropriate step in that particular situation, you will stand up for what is right and what is necessary to be done in that regard. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Choosing leadership. One of the quotes that I I like that have to do with greatness is some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust on them, by William Shakespeare. And I believe the same also applies to leadership. Some are born leaders. Some people, it just comes to them very effortlessly, without trying so much, without putting in so much effort. They can fit into a leadership position. It's like second nature to them. Some achieve leadership. They go to schools of leadership. They go through mentoring by great leaders, or by they have mentors who put them through the process of leadership, and what it entails. And for some, leadership is just thrust on them. They maybe in the school, somebody's a teacher or maybe a head of department is leaving unexpectedly, and that position is open, it needs to be filled. It just falls right onto the next available person, and the person is there and is just very clueless and thinking, wait, what exactly am I supposed to do? Or they're trying to fit into the shoes of the person that has just left. So in preparing for leadership, in, I won't say accidental leadership, but in preparing for leadership, knowing that it can come in, well, as we have just reviewed, at least three different ways. It can come naturally, it can come by attainment or by achievement, and it can come by not having an option. It's something that is put on you. You're just called on to lead. How do we prepare for leadership? What are the skills that are essential to have for somebody to be a great leader?
I believe it starts from the within. And what I mean by that is you have to be able to lead yourself before you can lead others. That's just the truth of it. And it starts with discipline. If you cannot lead yourself and say, you know what, has somebody that want to aspire to inspire, or someone that want to really make a difference in this world, and make sure that I don't just do average. Like, it will require you to hold yourself to a higher standard than every other person, because like I said, it's not do what I say, it's do what I do. Because a lot of people say, oh yeah, it's easy to say, oh yes, I'm a leader. But the question is, do you display on a daily basis? Is it part of your values, your lifestyle, to actually walk the talk, to be that leader? Because for instance, we cannot, let's use Nigeria and most African leaders as an example. They should not be called leaders in the first place, because most of them, they totally break all the records for all the wrong things to be done in terms of being or of leadership most of the time. So I think they need another name. They can call them politicians, not leaders, in my own opinion, in most cases. And so I think before you can lead, like in a view, in an ideal state, you need to lead yourself. You need to lead by those values that is really of a remarkable leader in the first place. But based on the pattern and the model that we see that is operating in our country, I don't think these are not good leaders to aspire to want to be like. And it's sad stated, but it's the truth. Because what it brings up for me is like I keep thinking like, okay, like here and in other countries, like history of like great leaders. But how many of them can we really point out in our country, in our states, in our city that we really know, like that are on that big scale of like they have influence and so many people know them, but the impact of their leadership is being felt in a good way to the people and to the community they're supposed to serve. And so I think the first step in being a leader is first leading yourself and living out, like walking the talk, being that example first before you can now demand of other people to now do the same thing as well. So that will be the first step, in my opinion. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Being able to lead yourself would be the first step to being able to lead others. Let's zero this down and bring it into education. Many educators, especially for classroom teachers, for those who are not leaders in education, but uh, who are instructors in the classroom, many times they shy away from taking frontline roles when it comes to being seen, or when it comes to taking up responsibility. You will many times not find a classroom teacher say, step up and say, oh, I will do it, or volunteer to take up certain roles. They just believe, look, this is meant for people in the admin, this is meant for people, for some other set of people. But when positions come up, or when opportunities come up to step up to leadership and to volunteer to do things, what would you say to classroom educators, particularly about stepping up to take up leadership positions?
Thank you, Finn. I believe that what I will say to them is, like I said, it starts from them first. They should not just say that, well, I'm not being paid for it. Like the hallmark of a true leader is that they always go above and beyond. They always do more than what they are paid for, in quotes, in that regard. And so if teachers and educators are saying that, you know what, it's based on what I'm paid, it's really just based on my job description, they're just going to be average. There's nothing outstanding or extraordinary or excellent about them in the first place. So the question is like, and I'll give you an example. Think about it, like in the schools and teachers that I have dealt with here through my career path, a lot of them, they go above the line. They don't just say that, well, because this is my job description to only teach the students. I don't care whether or not we have access to the tools or the materials that we need. I've seen a lot of teachers do incredible things where they'll say, you know what, I know my school cannot afford this stuff for the student, but they need this excursion or they need this material. So they will do fundraiser on their own behalf. They will find a way to to find that resource for those students. And it's not within their job description in quotes in that regard because it can have admin should have supplied that, right? And so what I would encourage is like you should not just teach as usual. That well, I'm just going to stick to my job description. Like in the field of education, in the field of teaching, I think it's beyond just like, oh, the black and white of this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do. Then I'm not going to do anything beyond that because I'm not paid beyond just this level as well. So I think every teacher has to come to a point where they care more about the student progress, student success than what the protocol says in terms of, oh, this is what you're supposed to do in theory and in paper, and then any other thing is just extra and at your own peril in that sense of the way. So I would really encourage educators to really care, to show care that you know what, okay, yes, realistically, this is what I'm supposed to do, but honestly, this is what is going to help my students really thrive. What does that look like? What else can I do to ensure that we have everything that we need, every tool that we need, every access to the resources that we need to really help my students grow and thrive? Thank you.
Thank you, Omotola. While you were speaking, we had Titi Adeusi join us, and we're just about to welcome her to the show, but then we will still wait for her to come in. It's probably something with the connection. Teachers really need to step up to the plate to take up leadership roles as they are presented to them. Now let's look at a case where somebody who has the leadership potentials in them, and they probably don't even know that they have those potentials. What are the things that can help them to discover these huge potentials that they carry, and to fully live in the reality and the realization of the potentials they carry?
Thank you, Faye. I believe it starts with having their own personal growth plan, not just saying that, well, I'm just going to rely on what the school says. Like there has to be a professional development plan or personal development plan or both in place to say, you know what, this is my goal. I'm in this particular sector or industry, and my goal is to grow to be the best I can be, to attain the whatever height I can go from there. So they can just wait and say, well, I'll just see what my boss has to say or what the school has for me. They have to be intentional about their growth. And it starts with, like I said, taking responsibility. Not saying that, well, because the school did not offer training, then that's why I've not done any training in 3 years. That's why I've not updated my salary, my curriculum in 10 years. No, like they should really like extend if they really truly care and are passionate about what they do. They should always find ways to develop, ways to definitely do better, ways to improve upon what they're doing, how to best serve the students. And it starts with creating a personal development plan or professional development plan. And actually, and it's not enough to just create it and make it look pretty and say, oh, I have it, but to have to work the plan to find opportunities for training, for improvement, to engage with other educators, to learn, to develop, to do better. Because if they just have it on paper, but they are not implementing it, then nothing changes. And so I'll say it starts with that. And then from there, hopefully things will keep moving forward. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I will this we will be going looking into this aspect of school leaders and school administrators giving their teachers the floor, or maybe the wings to fly when it comes to taking up leadership roles. Many times, classroom teachers or educators generally in the primary, secondary school settings are just confined to the classroom. The other roles that they are likely to be given are maybe where it has to do with after school care for children, or you're planning the end of year activities, You just need somebody to keep the children in check, or okay, well, this one for the female teachers hustle a lot for the managing welfare and events, cooking, packing the food, and all of that. In every of these activities, there are potentials to develop leadership in them. What would you say that school leadership and school management should be doing to help their teachers see the potentials for leadership in all of these supposedly or assumed mundane task that they take up every day, or that they take up periodically, maybe every term, maybe sessionally? Those things that just look like, oh, we're just coordinating the children to sing, we're just coordinating the children to act, or we're just helping them, we're just putting them through dance routines and all of that. Realizing that leadership is not something, is not, it doesn't have to be a huge position, it doesn't have to be a an obvious position of, oh, this person has this title attached to their name for them to be called a leader. So in this task, in these activities that teachers engage in from time to time, almost maybe as a routine, how can the school leadership and the school management help them to develop great leadership skills even through these activities?
Thank you, Faye. That's a really good question. I think it starts with the intent and agenda they set from the start, from right from hiring. Because I know most job description is just about teaching and making sure that they cover the curriculum and that they cover all the stuff that the student needs for the term or something. And I'll give you an example as an educator in the university system. Like I'm not just graded based on my teaching alone. They have a 5 point agenda or 5 point criteria to determine that. So all of the things you mentioned are part of what is expected of me. So I think it's setting the intention from the beginning. Saying, you know what, you people don't just see it as educator. We don't just see you as teachers alone, mere teachers. We really, you're not just an only, I'm just only a teacher. Like you have other roles to play because I always tell people, especially with the pandemic and what has happened, we can't use the same lens and the same way that we used to do schooling and say, I don't care about students. I only care about the academics. My job is just to deliver the content to them and follow the curriculum. After that, it's none of my business what happened to them. It doesn't concern me. No, we cannot. The pandemic has shown that there's so many other challenges that affect students beyond when they show up in our classes, beyond when they participate in the classes and courses that we teach. And so I'll give you my own example. So there's a 5 point system. Like when was hired, they had what they call Article 22. And that Article 22 basically just tells you that, okay, this is the criteria where you are being based on. Yes, you're going to be a professor and all of that. But actually, it's not just about teaching alone. This is what it requires. And so beyond just teaching, yes, they expect me to teach, they expect me to cover the curriculum, but what actually the other parties want also is they expect me to serve in the community. So I have to be part of a committee within the university, within the school, like let's say like a secondary school. There are different committees. So for instance, planning for the end of the year stuff, environmental issue, debate club, or those kind of things. I have to be part of one committee that is towards helping to ensure that the student or the school itself or the educational the curriculum gets better. Then the third part is, so yes, I am teaching, I'm being graded on that. I am being graded on that committee membership within the school community as a whole. And then another thing I'm being graded on is my participation in student life beyond just the academics. Like clubs, be an advisor for students in club leadership. So for instance, if there's a student club, like for instance, my own profession is social work. So I'm one of the advisors for like a social work club that is about leadership for Alpha Student Society. So I'm the main advisor. And so I guide the leadership of that particular club and help them to navigate issues that might arise or questions they might have regarding all of that and things like that. And so that's another responsibility. Another way that I'm also graded is in my research. So they hacked me, and part of the things that I'm required to do is like, okay, how can you improve and get better with research? We don't want you to just keep teaching the same thing year in, year out without taking account of what is changing in the field, new knowledge, new insight that we can add to the curriculum. And so there's this part of what is required of me that is dedicated to research and making sure that I have I'm able to like keep like developing and upgrading. And then there's also community service be outside of the university. I'm expected to help out, have on like either committees or help with like non-profit organizations or something related to my field within our community partners and members outside of the university, within the state and the city that we live in. And so these are just example of the way that in my job description, all of these things are laid into it. Like, no, we don't just expect you to teach. These are specific areas that we're going to grade you on. And each year, I'm graded on that every single year. I have to submit a report. That's okay. And they call it like PDR, which is like professional development report. And I have to talk about all of those 5 areas. I can just say that, oh, well, this semester I taught 4 classes. My students did very well. I had more people that got A's and everything. And this is how, no, I have to also talk about what I did in all of these areas. And I can't just say, oh, I did well in just one and I didn't do well in the other 4 that is expected. So I think school administration has to really stress going forward saying it's not just about teaching alone, it's beyond that. Realize that for us to have a well-rounded curriculum, a well-rounded education for these students, it's not just about the academic stuff alone. And part of being a leader is they leading by example, part of that volunteering for communities, finding ways to develop and improve, helping students on non-academic matter. And so hopefully if they can create and have that right in place and have that kind of orientation and mindset for the teachers, then it won't come as a surprise. Wait, you expect me to do that on top of my job of teaching, and then they won't get upset about that in the coming future. Thank you.
Right, thanks a lot for that. That was quite extensive. And as we go on, now leadership comes with different with its own challenges. Like we hear this, there's this general saying that uneasy wears the head, on easy lies the head that wears the crown. So leadership comes with its own challenges. When educators come up, when educators come up against challenges their in in schools or in their leadership roles, uh, we need to look at what are those things that can help them. What are those things that can help them to function, or what are those things that can help them to overcome these challenges? But before we look at this, we welcome to the show this morning Notishola Olumide. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Finfolu. Dr. Motola, good morning. Nice being here, and our tribe members too. I say good
Morning.
morning to everyone who is
Thank,
connected this morning. Thank you.
thank you for joining us. And as you settle in, we would like to take your view and your opinion, yeah, on what it takes to choose to lead, realizing that in this situation, it's not about waiting for leadership to be handed to you or waiting for an appointment or an election, but choosing to be the one to maybe be the flag bearer or volunteering to take a leadership position. What exactly does it entail to choose to lead?
Thank you. I will want to start from the angle of having that mindset. Um, when you are given a post, you like, oh, somebody has assigned me to do this, or when you are compelled or situation happen that you couldn't in a way escape, that may not necessarily mean you really want to lead. But when those things are not there, but from you are just voluntarily, you noticed there is a gap that needs to be filled. It's not even because you want to be seen or applauded. Just you look at it that things shouldn't be like this. I remember many years ago, I went to JAMB office to get JAMB form. When I got there, the rowdiness was so much. Why are people like this? No decorum, people are shunting, Suddenly I just had to speak up. I said, no, maybe you just put down our name once you come so that it will be called. We'll not just be rowdy around that. And before you know it, people kept silent and they aligned. It wasn't because, in fact, I don't even know any one of them, and I'm not sure if they see me, they will know me. But I just felt discontented with that situation there. Incidentally, that mindset was to serve, but in the process of serving, it will also help one to sharpen his skill that may be needed for tomorrow. So I think it stems from having that mindset of serving, that I want to serve others. I want to see better results. I want to see things done the way it should be done. And beautiful enough, you will sharpen your skill. Some reward may even come later, but that wasn't the primary reason. And I tell people, when you dodge responsibility, you dodge the opportunity to grow. For every chance you have to be a better person and you dodge, you have lost something great. And some people don't see it like that. When people become loafers, they are so lazy, they push you to the front. Okay, I don't want to do it. It's too difficult. You go there. I have learned over time. I've also been privileged in the church setting. I wouldn't know how that happened. I've seen a situation whereby I'll be asked to go to a place that is starting new, even as a student on campus. But the only thing I have learned is that that place I'm being sent to that is starting new may not be as well equipped as where I used to be. Where I'm coming from, somebody could take A or B or C. I could hide, I could dodge, or I could delegate. But the new place I've been sent to go and anchor something there, virtually nobody to delegate to. So the onus is on my head to get the work done. And I told some people, I said I later found out those things really contributed to my growth. Because now I couldn't afford to go late, expecting that so and so will have been there. If I'm not there, nobody is there. And I didn't see it as punishment. I didn't see it as maybe they hated my face. I have that right mindset that, oh, this will be great. At least if there's nobody to hide under, I will give my best. I'm expected to produce results. I won't be able to pass the buck to anybody. Everything rises and ends on my head. You better wake up. You better rise up early. You better give it all it takes within you. Incidentally, those things is like stretching my muscle and has really helped me. So later somebody will now say, how did you get to know that? How did you get to do this? How can you anchor this? And say, oh, I learned them many years ago. Not because I went to a formal setting to learn them, but because I found myself where I couldn't hide. So for me, whether people I'm assigned to do something, I'm not assigned to do something, and I know that it does not necessarily mean I have a title before I can lead or I can make impact. So I choose to volunteer and do that aspect that appears to be tough because I know I will land therein and I'll be a better person. So that is my take.
Thank you very much. I like the part of what you said, that a the passing up an opportunity to lead is passing up an opportunity to grow. If more of us are seeing it that way, I believe our attitude to taking up roles that either are assigned to us or are open for us to take, I believe it's going to change, and more people will step up to the plate to take up leadership roles. So, as we round off this morning, I would like to find out from you, Mr. Olumide, especially, particularly for educators, what audacity do educators need to step up to take up leadership roles, understanding that for many educators, they consider the profession as sort of like a dead end. like it's very mundane. All you're expected to do is to walk into the classroom, teach, conduct tests and exams, and that's the end of it. Wait for your pay at the end of the month. How can educators see these opportunities around them, or what is that thing they need to push them into taking the audacity to lead?
Thank you. I'll still go back to the issue of mindset and attitude. I don't know whether you have noticed there is upper class educator, middle class, and lower class educator. Go and find out.
Yes.
It borders on their expertise. That expertise was a function of the leadership role they chose to take, which also snowball into their growth. If somebody has been teaching, for me, when I talk to educators, I don't really spare them, especially when I'm having a face-to-face conversation. I don't spare them. That you are an educator does not mean you have signed a life of poverty. However, what can you bring to the table? What you can bring to the table is going to serve as your negotiation tool. What have you done? What have you achieved? How many people have you been able to impact? Those are the things you are going to bring to the table. The new employer sees you as like, that I'm waiting. The new employer sees you as that, don't let this one go. This one is a serious loss to our team. Don't let it go. Look at football. They are willing to pay somebody £100 million per week. And yet somebody is not signed £100 million for 5 years. It is the functionality of their proficiency. What can you deliver? What can you offer out? So if you go out of your way to lead, you are only preparing yourself for a better career. In fact, what I tell people is this. Why I plunge myself into many things is that, number one, I won't lie that I've done something I have not done. However, that thing I have done, I'm not going to put it there whether it was free of charge or they pay me money. After all, I was part of the process and I contributed my quota. Whether they pay me £1 or it was free of charge, nobody will know, but it will build my profile. So if I don't take the opportunity, I remember I was to go to one of the big schools to train their senior secondary school. By day two, I spoke with the coordinator. He told me what he wanted to offer. And I said, that money is too small. I can't take that money. Incidentally, I have prepared my slide. I said, if I don't come, my effort here will be wasted. Number two, the student, the opportunity they will have had to learn will have also been wasted. And I told the coordinator, for you to know that the money you are offering me is too small, however I will come. But I want you to hold on to the money. If after my presentation I didn't deliver, don't pay. For you to know that I am not coming cap in hand, begging you to give me the opportunity. However, I chose to still go to affect the life of those students and add that outing to my profile. When I was done, I went to meet her. I said, Alpha, did we deliver? She looked at me and said, you did more than we expected. If I didn't go to that school, I can't put it on my profile. And by the way, I've had privilege to teach. And when I tell the person hiring me, this is how much I want to earn, they said, no, we can't pay you this. I'll just say, thank you. I carry my load. Then some of them will be wondering, you are so sure. You are not even bargaining. I said, I can't bargain because I know what I want to offer you. If it were easy, why don't you teach your children yourself? So educators, until we come to that place of mastery, I tell you, educators may continue to perpetuate their own poverty. How you get to that mastery may not bring you money. It may be that it is voluntary service throughout, but that doesn't mean you have not participated. It will build your profile. Nothing ventures, nothing gained. If you are just doing what you are given to do, like Dr. Motola said, you are not going the extra mile. Everything you are doing, every other educator out there, they are doing it. So what is going to be the icing on the cake for you that stand you out from the crowd? Then I discovered that a lot of educators don't read. You are in a knowledge space. and yet you lack knowledge. I tell people, you as a speaker, an educator, you cannot afford to be less informed than your audience, or else they just leave you to say, oh, sorry, nothing special about this person. Oh, can we offer you 50,000? I have heard of teachers in the same school. They are paying everybody like 50,000, but the proprietress will give additional 20,000 at the end of the month. Please don't let others know. Collect the normal salary coming from account session, but come and see me. And she will envelope extra money. That educator did not have two heads. And I think a lot of school owners too are not helping. Educators also are not helping themselves. Some of them feel if you have mastery, you will leave. Is it not better to have mastery and leave? And if school owners cannot help the lot of the educators, I think educators should help their own lot. If you are in a school for 10, 15 years and you keep complaining that the pay is not okay and you have nowhere with that to move forward, I think we should blame the educators. If they are not offering you what you require here, why don't you use that place as stepping stone to garner experience and mastery so that you can move to a better place? But as you have said it like a dead end. What is the after all? What's so special there? Just to write lesson, just to go to class and teach. And if you look at educators, that's why the younger generation cannot lay claim to that profession. Because the body language is that when you are an educator, you are going to be poor. And the younger generation doesn't want to be poor. And if you look at the word poor, P-O-O-R, it is passing over opportunities repeatedly. People are poor when they pass over opportunities repeatedly. So choosing to lead is an opportunity to take on opportunity, which will better your lot, better the lot of the people within your circle of influence. It gives you mastery, and at the end of the day, it gives you better pay. Thank you very much.
Wow, that really was very intense. Thank you so much for your contribution to the topic this morning. And in rounding off, I would like to take a parting shot from Omotola on this topic, choosing to lead. What would your parting shot be for us this morning?
Thank you, Fee. So my parting shot will be that, like Nelson Mandela said, be the change you want to see in the world. And that starts from you choosing to lead. I know that it can be difficult sometimes. It can be extra headache, and most of us want to avoid headache, but this is a worthy headache. This is a worthy headache to get involved in. Don't just be passive about change. Don't just be passive. And the change also starts with you. Like our Hebrew analyst social has already said, your mindset that matters, your attitude that matters. If you can change those things, they can have exceptional outcome and result in the nearest future. So be the change you want to be, but that change starts with you. Change yourself. It starts from the inside out, and before you know it, you can change your environment for good. Thank you.
Thank you, Omotola. Before we go, we will take comments from our tribe. Olatunde Adebayo, good morning this morning. I must say that we have missed seeing you on the show, but thank you for being here this morning. He says, I think leaders that find it difficult to lead and find it hard to help others to take a lead too should check their personalities and leadership style, because this could be a debacle towards followers' willingness. Everybody is doing what they can with what they have, with the available resources with them where they are. So, checking for educators' awareness on this is crucial to understand them and help them to lead. Thank you very much for that, Olatunde Adebayo. Thank you for joining us this morning. And to our analysts, to Omotola Akishola and Olushola Olumide, thank you for being here this morning also. We had to tell Debussy join us briefly, but I'm sure it's network issues. We have not been able to have her back with us. But all the same, we thank you for being here, for showing up, Titi. And remember that the Good Morning Education Show continues on Saturday at 9 a.m. and on Sunday at 5 p.m. So we will be here to do our thing as usual. But before we go this morning, we would like to round off in our very distinct way, as we wish our tribe members a great morning and a great day ahead today. So at the count of two, please let's go. One, two, go.
It's
It is
It's
always
always a
always a
great
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 morning
fun
morning
on the
on the
Good
on
Good
the
Morning
Good
Morning
Morning
Education.
Education
Education
Show.
Show.
Have a
Thank you
good
all for
day.
being here. Bye.
Bye.